Thanks, Tim. Thanks, Tim. It's time to go. And I'm so glad you're all here. We've, the Astro Imaging Channel groupies, the volunteers that put this thing on every Sunday night, have been meeting for like 2 hours, 2.5 hours, or something like that, because we're a corporation. I don't know if you knew that. We decided to incorporate so that this thing can go on no matter. It's not going to depend on any one of us. We're a corporation, and it'll just go on and on and on and on. But that means we have to have a board meeting every year. And we talked about a lot of things. And after Yizhou's finished today telling us what he's going to tell us about, well, we're going to come back to some of those things. But for now, let me start sharing my screen and let you in on a few things that's coming up on the Astro Imaging channel. And we'll start, of course, with the calendar. Yizhou's here today telling us about sharing on a remote setup. He's got some things to show us about that. Now it's going to work out. He'll tell us who he is and some other interesting things. Next week, Rory has done a great job putting together a TAIC workshop. Now, workshop is one of those things where you come up here and you can go down and get Terry's data. This is Terry's, another one of our volunteers on the Astro Imaging channel. And you can get this zip file and you can get all of the raw data that he used, the calibrated raw data, and work on it as you see fit and then submit it. Unfortunately, it's after March 13th now, so you're a little late. But Rory got together with, I think 4 or 5 people that turned in something, and they're going to show how they process this data next week. Now, you can still get your data. As a matter of fact, you can get data from all of the programs that we've ever done, all of the workshops we've ever done. And we'll be doing another workshop sometime in the near future. But you can go back, get this, and you can even send it in to us. You're not going to get on the show next week because we've already been practicing with those people. So that's what we're going to be doing next week. I hit the wrong button. I should have hit this button back here. And we still have some TAIC shots going on. Now, this is our current effort for the TAIC shots. That's where you turn in your favorite pictures, and we put them all together and into some kind of music video. And it's really cool to see your pictures. So this time we're focusing on solar system shots. Your favorite solar system shots. They don't have to be from this year or anything else like that, but get them in by April 3rd. We haven't had very many, so we really need you to get some shots in for us, okay? So get your favorite solar system shots, comet shots, anything that is spending time in the solar system, and that's what we're going to need from you, okay? And then the other thing that I wanted to show you over here is what we've got coming up for you. Drew Henry is coming up on April 3rd, and he's got so much to tell us about planetary imaging with his Dobsonian. He's going to spend 1 week talking about how to gather the data, and the next week he's coming back and he's going to tell us in part 2 how to process the data to get the really good shots. And then we're going to go do lots of other things, but you will notice, alas, after June 5th, everything's open. We don't have any more things on our calendar, and we need you. We need you to hit the button up here that says contact and tell us your name, give us your email address, and tell us what you'd like to talk about. There's so many things out there that we could be talking about. You don't have to be the world's biggest expert on all this stuff. All you have to do is be willing to share. If you're smart enough to be an astro imager, you're smart enough to explain to other people how you astro image and tell people what they can get out of it. At any rate, going back over here, you can see that everybody's already saying hey to everybody over on this side of the screen. And, you know, how's it going and how's the weather like and all that other stuff. But believe it or not, you can even use this thing for questions. You can, all this stuff that you've got over here, you can type in the big red question mark, and you can ask questions. And then we'll occasionally interrupt Yizhou and ask him those questions. And I think I've got more to say to you later on after we've heard from Yizhou, and he's told us some things that he could tell us about. So why don't we get into that right now? Yizhou, if I'm going to stop sharing right now, And if you
All
wouldn't
right.
mind taking over and show us what you got.
All right. Thank you, Alex. You guys hear me okay?
Yeah, you're doing fine here.
All right. Okay. I'm sharing my screen. Let me know if you can see it.
You're good, and you're showing. You can hit the stop. You can hit the hide button down there to get rid of that
Right.
little tag. Okay, you're cool.
Okay. Cool. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Yizhou Zhang, and I am a hobby astronomer and have been into astrophotography for a couple of years. And I have been from time to time following the AIC channel, and I'm grateful to this platform. And every time I join, I think I learn something new and interesting. So I've been thinking, how do I participate and maybe contribute a little bit back? So I do appreciate this opportunity. And tonight, my topic is about sharing on a remote setup. This is more of a experience sharing session rather than a technical savvy section where you give tutorials, etc. This is just to walk you through our experience as a team settling and operating on a remote site with our equipment, and basically highlighting a few things that we think is slightly interesting and important compared to your own operation on a single system, and maybe a little bit lesson learned. At the end of the day, if anyone's out there thinking about operating in the same mode, I hope there's a few tools or tips that maybe you can capture and find useful. But that's basically this. Um, in structure, this is not a packed session. I only have a few slides, and I'm structuring the presentation in the way that I'll just open with a little bit about myself and hint on the sharing on the remote setup a little bit, and then the majority of the slides will be again our lessons learned and some useful tools and tips about operating in this mode. Um, at any time, if you have any questions, feel free to post, and I think I'm open to answer, open discuss any of this anytime. Um, only one slide about myself. This is first time I'm talking to most of you guys. I'm originally from Shanghai, China, one of the beautiful and biggest cities. It's a busy city and not particularly friendly for this hobby per se, but this is where I established the passion to this hobby and learned a few of the brightest stars on the sky. That's all you can see. In 2010, I came to the States and moved to Madison, Wisconsin for my graduate study. This is a beautiful, beautiful city. I still recall and remind myself the lives over there. It's a smaller town with a better skies. I'm showing just quantitatively the border level as well as the number of clear nights per year on this graph, just to show my evolution of my engagement with astrophotography. Um, the beautiful city, but the problem is most of the time the city looks like this. Um, I still recall I set up outside of my apartment in negative 20, 30. It doesn't matter if it's Celsius or Fahrenheit, really, in that scale. But I still have the passion, and but it's not as friendly, user friendly um, for this hobby. In 2017, early 2017, after graduation, I moved to San Diego, California, to start working and settling in this city. And I think this is a great place for any hobby or interest related with astronomy, given a high number of clear nights per year and relatively good conditions where I live in a suburb of the city. And this is where I kind of revitalized the passion towards astrophotography and buying, selling a lot of gear, setting up in the backyard and start imaging again, basically. And it was 2020, end of 2020, where while I'm still passionate about backyard imaging, some of our friends, we formed a small team and secured opportunity to set up in a remote dark sky site. The particular location we moved to is Animas, New Mexico, where the dark sky New Mexico remoting host locates in. And this is really the first time we got our hands onto first quality sky conditions. And that definitely helps a little bit about boosting up the data quality. And I think we truly enjoy operating in that location. But basically, this is where I come from and where I'm currently at. And I've been pursuing astrophotography along the way and learning at different conditions. My topic's really one slide about why sharing on the remote site setup, and this is no rocket science. And the reason we want to go to a remote location is because we always pursue the good quality high data under the dark sky. And I think sharing on such a remote setup has some goodies. For example, it lowers the cost per capita towards the dark sky. It's a little bit cost effective. I choose the wrong picture. It's not really taking a small portion of money to you, but you contribute a smaller portion, but you got the idea. And another thing to me, after all these years of operation, is that I think sharing on a remote setup actually provides some opportunity to collaboration, and you have your teammates to cover each other on operation. Say one time you're on vacation or you don't have your network is down. You want someone to help you run your system and collect data if the weather permits. I also have a setup on my own at another remote setup. It's sometimes I feel a little wasted if I cannot. I feel obligated that I need to operating every imageable night. So at some point, some level of collaboration or coverage from your teammate is actually also a good thing. That's why I put this up here. And then the third thing I can think of is the advantage of sharing on a remote setup is I think you do get the chance to get experience on different equipments given your teammates actually own different types of equipments. And this is what we plan to do. We have been imaging on a configuration for a couple of years, for over 1 year so far. And we are planning on rotating the equipment owned by the other teammates in the team. And I think this is also an economic way to get your hands on different type of things. It's not necessary you have to do this via sharing on a remote server to get all of this, but I think it's at least worth putting out there that as this is kind of our motivation of operating in this in this mode. And again, there's not huge difference between operating your own equipment in a remote setup versus operating as a team, collaborating and sharing as a team. But since this is the topic for tonight, I just want to highlight a few things to consider if you're going this route, and a few things I think I learned that is also good and important in managing and operating in this mode. And the rest of the slides is basically going to be elaboration or expansion on this kind of few bullets. One thing is naturally because more people on the team, you will have less imaging time per capita. And also the target selection is one thing. So I just want to describe how we operate as a team in imaging time allocation and target selection. This doesn't necessarily to be the way you operate, but just want to show you guys our experience. And the second thing, I think I didn't think it's important or stand out, but over the time of operation, I start to recognize operating as a team, a proper documentation for things is actually helpful and useful. So I just want to put it out there and show you guys how we did this. I personally think this is something worth keep organized along the way. And the third bullet is the equipment and software configuration or selection. Again, this is not really this is not a generalized form, but I just want to show you guys what equipment and what software we use and how I think it helps us in the way of operating collaboratively in the remote setup. Most of the slides next step will be on these three bullets. I don't know if there's any questions. If there's any on the general concept, we can talk a little bit right now. Otherwise, I'll just flash my slides.
There are no questions yet. By the way, it takes us a few seconds to turn on our mics. So if you ask us, are there any questions, give us a moment. But I don't see anything over on the chat yet.
Fine, that's fine. Yeah. All right, I'll just proceed with my slide deck. Again, the next few slides is just about how we operate things. And I hope to show you guys how this is done on our side and to see if anyone finds this interesting. The first part is documentation. Again, as I mentioned, if you're on your own remotely or in your backyard, you don't need to worry about anything. You're on your own and you manage how and when you want to do things. But when operating as a team, sometimes I think the documentation of these following things is at least useful for us. One thing is the calendar, and one of the teammates, talent teammates on Google Sheet generate this nice looking calendars to show the color represents the operators. And the way we allocate and designate operation is we have 4 of us in the team. Each one of us gets the scope, gets the system for 2 nights in a row. And he is responsible for basically creating the automation plan and kind of monitor the fly. Although right now we don't really keep an eye on the operation that much because we have confidence on the automation process. But basically, you want to make it clear upfront that who's doing what in what time, so that there's no confusion and there's good coverage. And we found that this kind of an interval within 4 of us is a good distribution, that each one of us gets some moonless nights as well as full moon nights. So the calendar, I would highly recommend creating this upfront if anyone is considering team up with other folks. And one thing is operating as a team is the expense and financial management. And for our team, another folks create a expense log where we basically put in everything that worth noting in terms of the expense. This is also, I don't know, this is no rocket science, but I just want to highlight, if anyone was going to this way, this is probably better be well documented so we know the whereabouts of the cash flow. And also another thing useful, and this is perhaps also applicable for a single person operation, is just creating a resource of operation, such as the link for different address, cameras, your weather stations, and logging info. So people on the team will aware of the whereabouts and how to get this info. Believe it or not, sometimes we still, after 1.5 years operation, sometimes I still need to go back and look at these things to tell me how do I log into the web camera and etc. So I do think those are some useful documentations along the way, especially for operating as a team. And this is how we operated.
Yizhou, can you help set the stage for me here, particularly with this, with the expense thing? I may have been taking notes and I missed something essential to the organization overall, but it sounds like you've got 4, 5, 6, 8 people, however many, got together and decided to have a remote place where you're going to put your telescope, and you keep track of all the expenses and who's paying for them. Is that just what's happening? It's just 4 or 5 guys got together and formed an organization to do this?
For me and for us, is 4 people get together and there's no formal organization or whatever, but we kind of know each other a little bit, and we basically trust people on the team. And
and somebody says we need a new camera.
yeah, we do it a little bit democratically. Yeah, if we need a new mount, in the beginning so the way we operate is we provided 2 scopes and camera setup that I'm going to show next in the hardware part, and we purchased the mount that was existing on the pier at the remote setup from the previous owner of the pier. We purchased that, and yeah, of course you need to get agreement among the team that we want to do that. And there's some accessories like I think a UPS battery, a power adapter, things like those stuff. And if it's not heavy like a mount, honestly, yes, you propose and our team agrees, and we put it on the expense log.
Who owns the stuff?
It's a great question.
Thank you. Thank
you. The way we're currently operating is that the 2 scopes that we have on the system, one belongs to a particular person each. The mount and everything basically we expense, we paid together on here. The ownership isn't is among the 4 of us right now. I would say is shared economy in some sense. But I do agree, yeah, this can be aligned upfront if this is critical, and it's heavy expense.
Now, let's say somebody doesn't want to do it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say somebody's being a jerk and needs to be divorced.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, what happens then?
This is a great question. I don't think we have a strong, strict alignment on this. I know another group operating next to us, a team of 3, and they have some kind of agreement or contract, if you will, not really a contract, agreement to put it on paper that if anyone wants to leave the team in advance before the lease terminated, he would agree to. This is just one example, but he or she would agree to sell the portion at a whatever discounted rate. But this is just one way to manage this in case someone wants to jump out.
Okay, I don't mean to confuse things. It just seems like it's all great as long as it's great.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. I probably should highlight a little bit on this. Within our environment so far, everything is great, so it's great.
Okay, cool.
But I do agree. This could be a thing to be settled up front during forming this team. That's a great suggestion if you want to document in a way of a lease agreement or contract. And if it's applicable, I would highly recommend people doing that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That's a good point. Yeah, again, honestly, documentation is important, and I think this is what we do, and there may be some other things worth documented now. And another thing, this is not too much, but I just want to say, when you select the site, apart from the conditions you want to secure, if you're operating single, we do want to point out that our site selection or the way we go here is also partly because it's within the reach as a team. Because for one, the equipment we have used comes from different people, and we need both of them to be at present to set this up. And I think luckily, basically, I'm locating here, and 2 of my teammates who contributes the equipment locating here. And obviously, this is part of the country that most of the good conditions occur. So luckily, and we have another friend locating here that's a little bit inconvenient for him to come along, but that's fine. So I'm just saying, when you team up, and if you ever want to make a trip, or if you need to make a trip to set up your stuff, you do want to take the reachability or feasibility of the day trip into consideration, if that's the thing. For us, luckily, we're within reach, barely within reach by a day trip for 3 of us. So we very occasionally come over and doing and set the things up and doing a little bit of maintenance from time to time. Each of us visit maybe 2 or 3 times to the location within a year and a half so far. Some sites does offer installation at a cost. If that's the case, and if that's manageable, then it's not really a condition. But for us, I just want to show we do look at on the map and say, hey, this is a good spot for us to meet up and start this whole thing. A little bit touch on the hardware, and this goes into sharing our experience and to tell you why we think our configuration helps with our remote operation collaboration. We've been using a dual scope setup, and I think a little bit highlights of that is we have 2 scopes, so it doubles the imaging efficiency. It actually doesn't double, but it definitely helps boost up the imaging efficiency. And the 2 scopes we choose, or maybe we have, are at different field of view, given the focal length and the camera we use. So it does offer the flexibility on FOV selection, because operating as a team of 4, sometimes we want to image smaller or larger targets. And I think there's some flexibility on the equipment is a good thing to ensure everyone gets a bit of what he or she really wants. In our operation, mostly we use Takahashi TOA 130, a 5-inch refractor, together with ASI 60-100 camera. This is our quote-unquote main scope, where it used to capture the luminescence and the details and the hydrogen alpha data mostly. And when this guy is doing this, we have a Takahashi FSQ 106 camera with the same filter wheel camera and everything. This guy is capturing and providing the color data like RGB or other narrowband data, where we consider a little bit on the color painting and not so much on the detail providing side. So this is the nominal way of us operating the system. But sometimes, very occasionally, one of us wants to image a larger target. In that case, we can use this scope only to capture the data needed, and may or may not choose to use the longer focal length or smaller FOV camera system for extra data. We do have rotators on each of the scope, which definitely helps on providing the flexibility on framing. And I think there's a session of tandem imaging happens a couple of weeks ago, where I think Greg detailized a lot of the details on setting up this. So I'm not going into that level of granularities here. But basically, this has been our main workhorse, and I think it's definitely helping us boosting up the efficiency on collecting the photons here. This is kind of what it looked like on the same target with pointing and rotator aligned, and this is what we've been doing. This is pretty cool. As I said, this guy belongs to one guy, this guy belongs to another guy. The mount was on the pier before we came in, and it's pretty cool that 3 of us meet up in mid of nowhere, and we and this guy the scope never see each other and never saw the mount before. And also no one has been on the tandem TGAD and tandem saddle bar before. And we managed to set this thing up, get everything aligned, up for function within 2 nights, I think. And that's pretty exciting experience for us, at least. And that's a good good sample of collaboration, I would say, within our team. And I only have a few slides touching on the software of our choice. I think Rex shows that basically he's highlighting on both Nina and Voyager for dual scope operation, tandem imaging operation. And in our case, the guidelines for choosing the software is that we wanted obviously manage the dual scope setup, and we want to allow at least partially allow multiple connections for viewing and monitoring the progress, and also maybe a little bit of light touch on the controlling. For example, trigger exposure, I don't know, changing the cooling conditions. This is everything is managed in a full automation sequence, of course. But I also want us to have the access to do some light controlling via the software of choice. And also one of the things we want to do, and we like the program we choose, which is Voyager, is that it allows the multi-user target managing. This is, again, no rocket science, but it does allow us to grouping or categorizing the target or the frame that we manage to choose, so that each one I can keep my framing or FOV in a specific subfolder, and also my teammates can see what I'm framing, and they will see if they appreciate it, or they will tell me, or they will propose a different framing, which is fun. And it's just about target managing, which I think is useful. And another thing we have been really enjoying lately is the notification feature. This is not only from Voyager, but another group of friends who made a small tapping app to use Telegram. It's called Telegram Bot, work for Voyager, and allow us to get real-time push notification about the progress of the automation. And I have a few slides. I have a slide to show what I'm talking about later. So basically, this is what we want, and we settle on Voyager, and we have been pretty happy with that. The next few slides will expand a little bit on each of the features I have in here. Part of the reason we use Voyager is at that time, Nina isn't at the 2.0 domain, and I don't think we have a very matured, at that time, not to me, a very matured synchronized strategy. But I understand right now it's a very well maintained synchronized tether feature. So could be a good option on tandem imaging. But this is what we experience, and this is what we like so far. Just to expand a little bit on the Voyager, and we use Voyager, the array version of the Voyager. So Voyager base manage a single system, a single node system, but they have a special edition called Array that allows you to manage, fully control a multiple imaging system on a single mount, up to 4 systems. And what it does is basically synchronized exposure, synchronized dithering, and synchronized autofocus. And everything is based on the Voyager's way of operation, just like what you do on a single node, but everything is synced up together. When we first tried this, so again, when we goes into when we brought our equipment goes into the dark side, we have no clue if it works or not. And we obviously, no one has ever tried array or tandem imaging before. And it's, at least to me, it's pretty amazing that we got it right in the first time, and it has been operating fairly smoothly over the course so far. So array is our main brain behind the operation. Another thing we like about Voyager is its web dashboard, and this is where I mentioned that different users can tap in to the system simultaneously and watch the progress and do some minor tweaking or controlling if needed. So basically, the good thing is about it's a direct access. As long as you open the web dashboard port on your main computer on your remote site, you can tap in on your Internet Explorer just at your home. You don't need to do any TeamViewer or RDP. You don't need to connect to the actual PC on the on-site. And you can use it in any web page interface. You can, and I do that on my smartphone and iPad just for casual monitoring. What you can do is view the system status and sending simple commands like changing the temperature, trigger autofocus, go to a system, go to a target, do a slew, do a center, and rotate the angle. And actually, you can trigger your full night automation sequence from web. So this is really cool that you don't need to remote in, and you can trigger everything from this interface. And all of us can do that in the same time. At least on the monitoring side, we from nights to nights, like 3 or 4 of us actually have this open, and we are watching the live image popping and to say how good or how bad it is. So it's pretty cool. And I think it's at least useful for multi-user usage here. So this is a feature I really like about the software we choose. And another feature within Voyager is called RoboClip. But it's basically the target managing repository I mentioned in the beginning. So the way we do that is in the web dashboard, you can frame however you want, changing the angle. And then if your system is connected, your web dashboard is connected to your system, you can click the RoboClip and save that particular framing into the system, into the Voyager RoboClip management system. And from there, you can specify, and this is the view from the web dashboard, you can specify your name of your target, and you can specify a group. For example, here's with my initial, and those are all my framing. And if other folks want to frame onto this target, and he or she can look up, either look up by name or sort by some credentials, and you can see if I've already have this or if you like what I'm framed, and then we can edit or change or delete or iterate on this. So this keeps you this kind of keeps keep a maintenance of what's the expected a wish list of the targets within the team. And I think it's a good way to organize, to get everyone and everything organized in a way. And once you load any of the frame, where you create a framing in the web dashboard, you can open the RoboClip manager in the Voyager console on the remote PC, and you will see the same thing loaded as well. And from here, you can create your sequence for the particular framing. So this is synchronized in a way that you can manage things, and you can group. It provides a grouping management. I think is at least useful for multi-user operation. I think this is the last thing I want to highlight a little bit. This is a Telegram bot that I mentioned is created by these two folks who are also friends and users at DarkSide New Mexico. What it does is it basically you install a small program on any of the PC, and you can connect to the Voyager on your remote PC. You don't have to install it on your remote PC, and you don't have to install it on your home process PC anywhere. But basically, what it does is connect to the Voyager, reading the process, and provide some auxiliary information like weather and conditions. And what's more important for us is it produce the it provides the push notification to your Telegram, which is I think it's a free and useful app. You can install it on your phone or whatever. It shows you the latest imaging, shows a preview of that, shows a little bit of the statistics of that, and also shows a little bit of the content of that latest image, and it shows you the statistics of this particular target over the night. And the good thing about this is you don't. So previously, when we talk about web dashboard, all of us can tap into the web interface and monitor the progress. And with this turns that into a push notification part, so you can just really lying on the bed and waiting for the push notification to tell you where am I on the image, on the imaging, and what's the latest image look like, or if there's any errors or problems. And again, this pushes to all of us, everyone in the Telegram group you can create. So all of us are on the same page about the progress. And I think the whole thing add up together really gives us a good hands-on automation and monitoring of our system operation. So these are the tools that we've been using, and we found it useful, at least for our modes of operation. I think that's most of the content I prepared. Again, this is no rocket science, and obviously not too much differ from you operating on your backyard or you operating on your remote setup solely. But again, just want to show a little bit of things that we learn along the way that we think it matters, and to show you how we have been operating this thing. And hopefully you might find it useful. And we've been, 4 of us, we call us Team Nocta, some creature that doesn't sleep and have good eyesight. And Astrobeam is where we post most of our pictures. Is main repository or sharing platform for us. And if anyone's interested, you can find any of us via names. And we post a hashtag on the description part of most of the all the pictures we produced within this setup. And you can follow this link to find all the pictures that we have been generating, if anyone is interested in following us and like what we've been doing. As I mentioned, we've been about operating there for a year and a half. So we have been covered 79 targets in 16, 17 months so far. And honestly, there are 2 months out of the year that's monsoon and it's not imageable. So we're looking at maybe 5 or 6 images per month, and we're talking about roughly 20 to 25 hours of broadband integration, LRGB, and a lot more if we add in hydrogen alpha, because I think it's a fact that you always get clear nights at full moon. So we're not shy on hydrogen alpha or narrowband data. But anyway, we've been pretty happy with at a rate of 5 or 6 images per month and operating collaboratively on this remote site. And this is just a story that we want to share with the group. And I think this is my last image, the last slides. I can open to questions or any suggestions or discussions. But thank you, and this is all I have.
Okay, thank you very much, Yizhou.
Mm-hmm.
There was a question here that you remote in from San Diego.
Yes. Yeah.
So if you were not here with us tonight, you'd be on your iPad or something, or you would have been on your iPad or your phone and said, "Hey, go take a picture of."
Yeah, we
whatever.
can. Yeah. So yeah, true. And I don't even. I'm just waiting for push notifications on my phone now. I don't even actively looking into the website web dashboard that much now. I'll just let it fly, and it has been operating pretty solidly recently. So all I need is a push notification to tell me what's the latest picture look like.
How often do you physically see the other guys in your group?
Yeah, good. I think some of my teammates are in the show today, but over a year and a half I meet my teammates twice. Yeah.
Five times you've met with your.
No, twice. Only over 1.5 years.
Okay, wow.
Once, yeah, yeah.
Eric, how we doing on questions?
I think we're doing all right. I have a question. What are the seeing conditions and how many good nights do you have in a year?
Yeah, our observatory has been open about 250 nights per year in the last 2 years. I think we kept a log of opening the roof, and that's about the rate of opening. Seeing can be funky from time to time, and depending on the season and month. This is the first time I get experience with dark skies. I don't know if my expectations is good. I say it's okay, good to okay compared to my expectations.
So what does it seeing? Do you get 1 arc second, 2 arc seconds?
I don't have a seeing monitor. I think in the good night we're seeing maybe. I don't know if any of my teammates is on the call. Feel free to correct me, but I'm seeing my extreme good data is at about 2 pixel. Full width half magnitude is about 2 pixels. So 1.5 to 2 arc second is the best we can get. In the nominal days, we're seeing somewhere around 3 to 3.5 pixels.
If you're not there on site, is there support on site for you?
The place we go, yes, there are people on site 24/7 or close to 24/7. Not always they can I don't know, troubleshoot or deal with our requests, but there are people on there to help with little things, and they have been pretty helpful and active on providing helps. But I think that's the same for most of the commercial hosts nowadays.
And how do you get the files down to your locations? Do you post them to a common site?
Good question. I missed that part. For us, we I don't know if I can answer this the best, but we create a FTP server on the remote PC, and all of us tap in via FTP client to grab the data. And the local network has been supporting us doing that pretty good. I don't know if I'm downloading the same time with my teammates, but I'm seeing 2.5 megabyte per second downloading. So it's pretty good for me.
John at Astra wants you to comment on the synced dithering of 2 scopes. How does that work? How well does it work?
Good question. I was hoping if I can, the weather doesn't cooperate, so I cannot demonstrate. But within Voyager, the way you create the synchronizing plan is you tell you tell Voyager how you want to sync the dither. You can tell that. So, for example, we have two nodes. We can tell them to dither after every X frame of node 1, or dither of every X frame of node 2, or dither after each one of these reaching X frames, or dither after both of them reaching X frames. So there's flexibility of how you want to manage this. And while you, based on your choice of dithering strategy, the other guy will just wait there. For us, we've been operating for, as I mentioned, the 130, the 5-inch refractor is mostly imaging the luminance data, and 106 data scope is imaging the color data. Right now, we've been doing 5 minutes exposure for both of them, but we're doing 2 of blue, 2 of green, 2 of red, and rotate and repeat. So we've been saying, and because of your switching filters on this side, this guy, after a few exposures, this guy will start a little bit late, a few seconds late than this. So our dithering strategy has been dithering after this guy, maybe 2 images or 4 images after this guy. So our 130 scope will be waiting for a couple seconds before this finish exposure and start dithering, and that's all we've been wasting. But basically, you got the flexibility and you got a choice how you want to manage the dither.
So I see you're running an ASI 6200.
Yeah.
And you using bin 1. What's your arc seconds per pixel?
On the 130 side is 0.78 arc second per pixel. On the 106 is about one and a half arc second per pixel.
And do you think that's a good match with your seeing, or
would you
be better off binning?
I think it's, yeah, this is maybe technical and I'm not sure if I'm telling it right, but I think we're doing okay because at about 0.8 arc second per pixel, I think it matches with roughly 1.5 to 1.5 arc second seeing. Yeah, even the sample rate at increased sampling.
And those files are not small, are they?
Oh, they're huge. Yeah, we've been keeping buying hard drives to store them, and you got, yeah, we're doing 5-minute exposure in Mulis nice with 2 cameras, 2 6200 cameras. So it is flooding in. So, but fortunately, so far the network supporting the download, and hardware is a decent.
So are you using using PixInsight to do all your pre-processing?
Yeah, I haven't touched too much on the processing part, but we've been using AstroPixel processor app for most of the pre-processing, and really the reason we choose that is that it's a little bit easier in the beginning to merge pictures at different scales, but obviously PixInsight can do that as well. But our most pre-processing so far happens on APP side.
And I imagine everyone has. I'm sorry, Alex. Go ahead.
Matthew Ray wants to know, how did the partners come together? How did you meet these guys?
Yeah, we're all originally come from China, and we have a small chat group where we just brag about things and talk about the technical things less frequently. And this is I think the story is I first saw a post about remote setup, a remote site. One of the peers available in there, and I know I cannot afford that, and that's because that's the most strong motivation of finding partners over there. And we just chat in the group who else want to be a part of this, and we naturally form a team.
Okay.
I see Toby wants to know whether everyone does their own processing or do you cooperate on processing?
So far, everyone generates his own version. So whoever is leading on that particular target, like selecting and running the image acquisition of that target, he is responsible for generating the master frames. But from there, currently we all process our own. But obviously, this is also a small group of exchanging opinions on processing techniques, and we provide constructive critics. So this is also part of the good thing about forming as a team. But so far, we doing our own processing and open for comments within the team.
Do you have any agreement as to who publishes an image first or last? Or
not really. So we've been doing pretty casual. We have some targets that some of us want to get a hands on it right now. I think kind of by default, so far, whoever is collecting the data is in the lead of publishing the pictures first. But it's really not a rule, and sometimes whoever feels about it, just give it a try. And it's not that strict within our team.
Yizhou, when Hema Sipimova wants to ask, how does Team Noctua handle a member not being able to image on any given night? Is the time put up for a vote or what?
Yeah, good question. For now, right now, we have the capability of building up an automation sequence, including the target you want to image at that night in advance. And say if I'm on vacation tomorrow and I want to image a particular sequence of image targets, I can create this automation plan in advance today, and tell my teammates, hey, I want to please just help me run my script tomorrow, and they can just easily click one button and everything is going. So you can prepare in advance if you have something in mind you want to image. So far, because our group is really like a group of friends, we know each other a little bit, and it's a kind of a casual collaboration. If sometime I'm not I don't have time to create such a plan, I'll just handle it. Whoever wants to add some data to their targets, they can do that.
Okay, let me get this. Is it my target, your target, his target, or do you all just produce data and use it as you feel like using it?
Half and half. It's everyone create their ideal framing, of course, and if I create a framing like this, I'm responsible to collect the data for this target under my allocated time.
Okay.
But once the data is acquired and produced, everyone within our team can get hands on it.
Okay.
Whenever they want.
Peter Norris wants to know, what sublength do you use for narrowband?
What's what? Sorry.
What sublength? Do you have narrowband already?
Oh, okay. Yeah, 5 nanometers, I think. You mean the wavelength? Is
no. How long is your exposure?
Oh, sorry. We've been doing 10 minutes, 600-second exposure for our narrowbands so far.
And what narrowbands do you have while we're there?
So each scope has a 7-slot filter, so it's LRGB, SHO.
Okay, SHO.
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Ray, who got here late, shame on you, Ray. No, just teasing. Are you the one who got the APOD? Did you get an APOD recently?
APOD? I have one. This guy, sadly not produced from this particular setup.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And another teammate, this guy Ming Xie, is is a master on this, and he got a few, right? So yeah.
Okay.
Thank
good.
you. And I think we're getting good quality data, and we're happy with what we're producing so far, at least. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think we've gone through all the questions. There is one comment way, way, way up at the top from Jeffrey S. Hello, Yizhou from the Madison Astronomical Society.
I saw Jeff's comment in up front. Yeah, it's nice to see someone. So we've been participating and sometimes imaging together back in Madison. I love to see folks from there. Yeah, thank you, Jeff.
You'll have to come back sometime and tell us more about your program as it goes along. Thank you very much. It was a real interesting presentation about how you guys just got together and worked together and making some beautiful, beautiful, beautiful images. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Okay.
By the way, at the end of the program, after we end the session, you're welcome to stay with us and chat for a little bit.
All right, will do. Thank you.
We're getting ready to close, but please don't go away yet, guys. I got a few announcements to make. Remember, I said earlier that we had been meeting since 7 o'clock, I guess, Eastern time, and we came up with a lot of really good ideas for making the astroimaging channel better. Some things that we just needed to do because we know that we don't do everything right, and we could do everything a little bit better. But an awful lot of them hinged on us getting more people to help us. I think if you look at the screen right now, you'll see the various people that are here now. In fact, Tolga was here a little earlier today, and Arno couldn't be here because he's with his family and some others. So we've got about 10 people that put together this programming for the astroimaging channel, and they work pretty hard. Everybody does a pretty good job. There's some people like Wanda and Rory and Arno that I particularly appreciate because they each got a job to do and they went out and did it without asking. Well, they asked some questions and they figured out how to do it, but they basically invented the job and ran away with it. And really, we just know the job's going to get done. We need some people like that. And if you want to be part of that, you just go on back over to that contact page that you see me at the beginning of every show, tell you about the contact page, how to get a hold of us, say, hey, look, I'd like to be able to help with you. We know we need help on web page design. We use Weebly, and yeah, it's a web page, and yeah, you can find out stuff if you want to, but it's not a very exciting web page, and we think we could do better, but we're not web designers. We know that out there are some web designers that could pitch in and help us. So contact us and tell us about it. We know we need some people that can help us improve our database, including making it more accessible. We've got a wonderful database with program descriptions for at least half now, and we're trying to get all 400 or so programs with a good description in there. Well, we need help doing that. And we've come up with a new idea. Rory came up with this idea, but he doesn't have the time to pull it off all by himself. And that, was it Rory? No, it was Tolga. Tolga came up with this idea. Sorry, Rory. Where we feature your work and your imaging rig. And the idea was that each of you people out there kind of take a picture of an imaging rig, explain it real quickly. Remember the shows about like imaging rigs evoking text or nightfall or something like that? Well, you do the same thing, just maybe a 1 minute, real quick thing, even a picture. Doesn't have to be a video, doesn't have to be narrated, just, annotated, and you send it in. And then we'll feature it once a week. We can do all those things, and we can do with a whole lot other ideas that you can help us with, and if you can give us the ideas. But we need the manpower and woman power to pull it off. So contact us. Use the webpage, contact information sheet. Get a hold of us and help. Okay, that's my speech for the night. And that was a long time I spent on the astroimaging channel today. So anyway, Good night, everybody. And we'll see you next week with the workshops. Rory's got some people going to come in here and they're going to tell us about how they process Terry Robison's data. And so we'll see you back next week. Tim, I think you're in charge. Time to go.